knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. Knowledge is trumped every day by execution. And if you really want to change your life, you can't let the learning you have here lead to knowledge or become an idiot. You got to let your learning lead to action, and then you can become wealthy financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and everything else. If there's one thing we have to be successful, I'm wasting my time and I'd be wasting yours if all we do is continue to talk this way. The reason is it might be interesting. As we go through some of the strategies, you'll probably be excited, write them down. But in this level of energy, here's what happens. Whatever state you're in when you're learning, it gets linked to what you're learning. So if you're sitting here and you're really comfortable and you're kind of enjoying this and going, wow, this is pretty good, or wow, that's really interesting, or that could be really valuable, or damn, he has big teeth, or whatever you're thinking right now in your head. If you're doing that in a passive state, then later on when you go to do something, you go, yeah, I'm really gonna do this is really gonna happen. And there's just no energy for it. So the less energy you have, the less likely you follow through and use something. How many follow here? Say I. And so, but some of you might say, yeah, but Tony, I've been here 2 days and it's great to be here with you, but I'm a little tired, it's late in the day, that type of thing. What you gotta understand is this, as a business owner, as a professional, as somebody who's gonna be the best in the world at what you do or believes that you are, there's nothing more valuable than energy. Nothing moves without it. And the lower the energy, low energy, things break down. High energy, you can build, you can create, you can do anything. Energy has nothing to do with age, food, sleep. It's something that comes with a psychology. Without the energy, anything else I'm gonna talk to you about is a waste of time. So you and I need to establish a new standard for energy. If I were to take all the things that you say you want, and I was to generalize them up into a deeper, richer concept of what you really want, you don't just want these individual things like lose weight or have more energy or make more money or have a better relationship. How many would agree what you really are after is an even more extraordinary quality of life? That you want, as great as your life may be, you want more joy, more passion, more aliveness, more impact, more success. Who can relate to this here? Say I. Then in order to create an extraordinary quality of life, we have to define it. So what is an extraordinary quality of life? What would a magnificent life be? It's not for me to define. It's for you to define on your terms. To me, an extraordinary life is life on your terms. What would it look like if you really, truly, without bullshit, without exaggeration, could look yourself in the mirror and say, holy shit, look what I created. Look at the life that I've created. Now, some of you truthfully could do that now. You just don't do it enough. But I know you want more, so let's look at how to do that. I would say to you, there are 2 master skills. I invite you to write them down. 2 fundamental skills that you have to master to have an extraordinary life that lasts. It's like getting rich. Anybody can get rich. Staying rich is a different thing, right? And I don't just mean financially rich. I mean emotionally, spiritually, physically, relationship rich, all the riches that are available to us. What are the 2 skills? The first skill is the science of achievement. The science of achievement. And notice I said science. The reason is because achievement is a science. And anyone can learn it. It doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter anything. The only thing that limits you is limiting beliefs. So think of that situation that once seemed impossible. It's now in your life. When it was impossible, what made it go from impossible to your life? Think about it. Well, what did you do to take this thing that seemed impossible and now it's in your life? But I would argue to you that there's 3 fundamental steps that everybody goes through at a minimum. If you took something once seemed impossible, it's there. And if we recognize what they are, you can go back to it and you know it works because you've done it before. And you can apply it to anything. And I've applied it most of my life. And by simplifying it, whenever I really want to achieve something, I come back to these 3 steps and I make it happen. So the first step is, tell me if this is true for you. You became obsessed by it. This thing you wanted, you didn't just want it, your hunger for it got stronger. Your desire for it got stronger. But how many of you know somebody who's incredibly smart and can't fight their way out of a paper bag, right? So intelligence is not enough. What's gonna make you maximize your ability is hunger, a hunger that doesn't go away. So in the area where you achieved, your hunger was sustained. You got hungry, you got desirous, but you didn't let it go. How many can relate to this when you think about this item, this situation? You were hungry, you were driven, and you wouldn't let it go. How many can relate to this? Say I. And because you had that hunger, what did it do? It gave you the drive to do something, which is the second step. Once that hunger is strong enough, it'll pour you into action. So step 2 is you gotta take massive what? Write down massive action is the cure-all. We all know it, but we forget it. People say, I don't know what to do. Here's what you do. Try anything. I don't know where to start. Throw up a rock, wherever it lands, start there. The next person goes by, go, I need to talk to you. You're the first person after the rock. Whatever it takes, you can get them going. But what people do is they think they have to know the answer. What they really got to do is get into action. But step 2 has 2 parts. Take massive action and effectively execute. And once you know what that something is and you effectively execute, then you only need one more thing to achieve what you want. And that's grace. Or some people call it God. Some like to call it luck. But there is an amazing thing I've learned in my life. The harder you work, the more focused you are, the more committed you are, the more flexible you are, the more grace tends to come to you. And the more you acknowledge grace in your life. How many of you have ever done this? How many of you have ever achieved a goal that you worked your tail off to get to, and then you achieved the goal and your brain said, is this all there is? Who's had this experience before? Say I. Isn't that a brutal experience? I'd rather fail because, if guys like you and I, ladies and gentlemen in this room, were to fail, you don't accept failure, right? You just get up and try something else. So failure is actually better because you can still succeed. When you succeed and you're not happy, now you're what I call technically screwed. That's demoralizing because you worked your guts out and you achieved it and you're still not fulfilled. So the second lesson I believe is even more important. And this lesson, if you can take it home tonight, the second lesson is you must master the art of fulfillment. The art of fulfillment. And that sounds so basic, doesn't it? The art of fulfillment. But notice I didn't say the science of fulfillment. Why? It's not a science. You know why? Because what's going to fulfill you, my dear, you and you, even if you're dear friends or family, is not the same. Fulfillment's an art. If you want to know what fulfills people, look around this earth. You got to find what it is that will light you up. Because otherwise you achieve and you're not fulfilled. As I said earlier, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. You think that if you achieve, you're going to be happy. And I'm here to tell you, you got to happily achieve. And that sounds just like changing one word, but it's a different life. And in order to do that, you have to decide that fulfillment is even more important than achievement. And by the way, you don't have to choose. When you're really fulfilled, you tend to achieve more.
Now, let's repeat it from the beginning. Here we go. From testimonials and personal experience, we have enough information to conclude that it's possible to design and live an extraordinary life. I hope you will give that little phrase some consideration, and here's what's next. I hope you buy the idea that from testimonials and personal experience, we have enough information to conclude that it's possible to design and live an extraordinary life. And what I want this weekend to be for you is the gathering of more ways and means to design and live for you an extraordinary life. I don't know how far you want to go. Here's the first essence of life, and that is self-preservation. To produce enough to take care of yourself. The instructions given right to the couple that left the Garden of Eden. One was to multiply. It's a lonely place with only 2 people. But here were the next instructions, to be fruitful. How fruitful, how productive should one be? And here's number 1, to produce enough to survive. To produce enough to take care of yourself. And self-care is important. If you're flying on an airplane, the flight attendant says if for some reason we run out of oxygen, these oxygen masks will fall from the ceiling, and if you have children with you, quickly take care of them, then take care of yourself. No. 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 They say what? Put your mask on first. Put your mask on first. See to your survival first. Then you'll be more capable of taking care of the survival of your children. So the first challenge in life is to take care of yourself. It is to survive. So, to produce enough to survive, to take care of yourself. But now what's next? Well, all alone, it's a lonely life. And jot down the answer: to live a more extraordinary life. So now the man produces more than he needs for himself and for his children, so that he can be a person of benevolence, so that he can give and so that he can share. That's the more abundant, that's the more extraordinary life. To produce more than you need for yourself and for your children. Is that it? Let's take it a couple of more steps. How about producing much more than you need for yourself and for your family? Someone says, well, now you're off the scale. I mean, why work that hard? Why go that far? Why produce that much? Some would say, just take care of yourself. Some would say, just, get a partner and that's it, and then children and that's it. And be a bit benevolent and that's it. But why not go this next step and produce much more than you need for yourself and for your children? And when someone says, why do that? All of us know the answer, right? Why not? If you've got the talent and the skill and the opportunity, why not put all of that together and see if you couldn't produce much more than you need for yourself and for your family? Maybe back then it would total $40 billion, like Bill Gates. So $40 billion he earned the first half of his life. Guess what he did with the last half of his life? He gave it all away. And the big question is, why do that? And the answer is, why not? If you've got the opportunity to design and live an extraordinary life, why not do that?